Okay.
Ah, Daka, it's been so long. It feels like it's been forever.
It's been only a week and a half now.
Only a week and a half? That's crazy. I am so tired. My sleep schedule has been completely bombed.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
spent since the time that we last did the podcast, I have just been in the Twilight Zone playing Blade and Soul.
I've
What have you
been
been up to?
I've been like sleeping at 7 a.m. and waking up at like 4 p.m.
Oh
these days. Oh my
goodness.
god.
Oh goodness. Well, the game's been released, and it's been a duration since it's been released actually. So I think people have had a bit of time getting to know the game. A lot of new players have come in, and what do you have any thoughts about how the launch went for you personally, and any thoughts about how it went overall?
For me, it went pretty smoothly. I didn't experience some of the issues others were having, such as random crashes and the
Hmm.
like, and random disconnects. For me, I never disconnected for some reason. Maybe I'm just lucky.
You lucked out. Well, you started actually on Pohoran, right? I
Yeah,
think initially when, especially on the early start, Mushin was the big server that had a lot of these issues, and
right.
Pohoran just had like a short queue on it. But I think it was for me the launch experience was pretty interesting. I crashed and disconnected about 5 times, and each time I had like a 30-minute or longer queue, the longest being like some 2 hours or 3 hours or something like that. All in all, not too bad, but it was okay. And of course, now we still continue to have a lot of server queues, and so they're releasing new servers, and they're trying to sort that out. But hopefully, everything will die down in about a week or so. That being said, did you get to actually see their launch event? I think that was on the 18th, right?
I only saw parts of it. I was too
The
busy playing BnS.
Yes, yes, that's the same way for me. I only got to catch a little bit of it, but I did see some of their PvP showcase matches and some of their announcements and their events, and they were talking about the game a little bit. It seemed pretty fun, and I hope they do more stuff like that in the future. I think it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed seeing some of the players going on stage and trying to play the game and doing some PvP. I thought it was a really fun thing, and we got to see, of course, Jason was there, and I think Arrow, or I think his name is now Venom on
Virus, I think.
Virus, sorry, Virus on the North American servers. He was actually there too, so we got to see him play. I think that was really exciting. So since the last podcast, the game has been released. There was the launch server and the event stuff. We've all been leveling up, and you've been working on your guild, right?
Right.
How's that coming along? Ace is the name of the guild on Pohorang.
That's my
Seems
first.
you guys have a pretty big community.
Yeah, I never expected it to be this big. It's kind of my first guild that I ever
Cool.
made. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. And you've actually implemented like some things on your website, bnstree.com. You've actually implemented a section on the website for your guild, haven't you?
Members only, yeah.
Members only. Ooh, it's very exclusive. Very exclusive. And we'll get to see more about Ace in the future. And also, they have a large presence in the tournament. Do you know how many people in your guild are involved
I
for the
think
Imperial
about
tournament?
four.
Four of them? Wow. And four of them in like a 32-man bracket. And I do believe following the tournaments and from what I know, a lot of the members in your guild are actually very high placing, very skilled PvPers. So that'll be interesting. Imperial tournament North America was delayed yesterday. There was server instability, so the tournament organizer Avarice decided to kind of push that back. So it's going to be happening today at 5 p.m. PST, and we'll be looking at that a little later into the podcast, Daka. We'll be looking at the brackets and getting some thoughts about how it'll play out and preparing ourselves for what's to come later on in the day. But we have a few more topics today for you for our podcast. We have some news to talk about, just some light things to think about. We've got some interesting announcements since the game has been released. They had a video showing future content that they were planning on doing, and hints at perhaps the class coming a little bit sooner than we thought. And then also we could take a small sneak peek at some PTR changes on the KR servers. At least I believe they're PTR. I'm not sure if you've looked
It
through
is.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the PTR changes on KR, and I think there's some interesting changes in there. We won't go too in depth into that, but I think it could be interesting for us to take a look and just talk about where the game is headed at the level 50 patch. And it might give you guys some interesting insight to how the classes play on the Korean servers. Beyond that, we're going to be talking a little bit about PvE and something that I really need help with, Daka, that you're going to need to help me and the viewers out with is with the crafting. Now, I know a lot of people, are sitting there and be like, where are my moon water transformation stones?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And everyone's like, please, I want to upgrade my weapon. I want to upgrade my accessories. So we're going to learn a little bit about crafting. We're going to learn a little bit about the PvE, have a discussion about the difficulty and the health levels. And then we're going to close the podcast out with some PvP talk. We're going to talk about the new PvP stats that's different from the closed beta. And finally, how to use your tab escape properly in PvP. So we're going to talk about that mind game. So, Daka, why don't you start us off by talking about, perhaps let's discuss about their video their trailer that they released, about the new content. What did we see in that trailer actually? And oh man, I wish we could get a link somehow, but if you guys haven't seen the trailer, I think you can go onto YouTube and just search for the official Blade and Soul NA. God, I'll have to find it again. Maybe I can grab it for you guys in some downtime. But the video showed a bunch of things. What did we see in there, Daka?
Okay, so first thing, we see some level 50 areas, the Silver Frost Mountains.
Level 50.
Obviously, I don't think they're gonna release that like next week. But yeah, we did see some level 50 areas, those snowy mountains, those very fabulous temples.
Yes.
So maybe that's for later content.
Yeah.
Another thing we saw was, of course, BSH and Mushin's Tower.
Yeah, and they weren't very shy about showing those things at all. They showed Heimujin, who is the last boss in BSH, and they showed Mushin himself in the tower.
Right.
Some things to think about for that too. I mean, when Mushin initially released on KR servers, it was just the first 7 floors, right?
Right.
But maybe there's a possibility that Mushin Tower will come out with the whole 8 floors. Do you think that's something that they would do?
No, I don't think so. I think I heard it from somewhere that they're just gonna release it the same way. First 7 floors first, and then 8. And then maybe we'll eventually get like 8 through 15.
Yes, yes. So Mushin Tower, BSH, they showed some level 50 areas, and what else did they show?
They showed Warlock.
Oh,
Just at the very end.
the Warlock is coming, Daka.
Warlock doing that block move.
Oh, God, they're so cool, Daka. Oh my God, if you guys haven't played the Warlock and you've listened to their sounds and seen their animations for their skills, oh my God, that class is so cool. Do you have... Okay, well, it might be nice for us now that they've shown the Warlock and we know that it's coming, and hopefully it's coming a little bit sooner, because kind of the impression that they've been giving on Twitter and when they launched this trailer, they've been talking about how they have like... They describe it as an aggressive content release plan. Now, the timeline that we're actually looking at may be very different, because what the community perceives to be aggressive and what a company perceives to be aggressive is quite different, perhaps. Personally, my personal bias is like, okay, within about 2 months, I would say that would be pretty reasonable. Within about 2 months, like, I kind of want to see these things kind of getting pushed out of the way and us moving on. But that might be a little... optimistic in my sense.
Well, I kind of predicted that we would see Bloodshade Harbor, that's what they're called in NA, and Mushin's Tower, like within a month. Like Poraron, like people are like farming Poraron right now pretty easily,
Hmm.
Yesterday I went to a forum and then for the first time, and then it was easier than I thought it would be.
Yes.
So,
When I remembered on a Korean server, when I was doing Pohoran, it was actually quite challenging, despite the fact that there were a few people in the group that were very well geared. You still had to be very careful with the dungeon in general, and it was quite punishing for you. I don't know if I got that same feel when I did it on North America.
they did nerf some aspects of it, yes.
Hmm. Hmm. So that will be coming. Uh, and then their Warlock release, the impression the video gave me was that when the 50 stuff comes out, the Warlock will be coming out at the same time, which is pretty exciting because it's coming pretty soon. For those people who haven't really played the Warlock, how would you describe the class? Because on our first podcast, we did a good overview of a lot of the classes that were currently available to the North
Right.
Americans, but we didn't really talk about the Warlock. What can they expect from this new class?
Okay, so first of all, Warlock is a ranged specialist. So they're mainly DPS. Very little support abilities, except one very special skill. Some of
Ooh.
you may have noticed in your skill window that you see this awakened skill,
Ooh.
and wonder how the hell are you supposed to use that?
Hmm.
Well, the thing is, Warlock has a skill called, well, I'm not sure what it will be called in NA, but
Hmm.
it's a skill that buffs the entire party for, if they're going to apply the December patch, it will be 15 seconds
Hmm.
instead of
Previously
20.
20,
Yeah.
right?
And for that 15, it's called Soul Burn in NA.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Uh,
Soulburn. Huh. That's an
um,
interesting choice of name.
and during that duration, you can use your Awaken skills,
Oh,
which
and
it
they are
does.
so good.
Yes, they do a lot of damage.
And for each different class, it's a different thing, right?
Yes.
And they tie in generally the skill that they picked is very relevant to your class's general builds. They're definitely things that you would commonly use. They could make things proc more consistently and do more damage. And on top of unlocking those new skills, you also get like a crit damage buff, right? I think there's a
Yeah.
few other statistics that you get from it.
As long as the Warlock put points into that skill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a very strong class in terms of party support, providing that spiritualize. As you said, a ranged DPS class, and they're kind of like a half pet class in some ways because they can summon their demon, but it isn't out all the time like it is for a summoner, right?
Yes,
They summon their demon in its duration.
it's out for like 36 seconds or so, or
Yes,
30
36
seconds.
seconds, and
And
then
the
the
cooldown
cooldown
for that
is
is 45 seconds, I believe.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so the warlocks in general, they can provide very high damage on their own. And then on top of that, they provide the spiritualize. How about their CC? I get the feeling that their CC is a little bit hard to come by, but they can utilize their pet and themselves to do some things.
Um, let's see. They don't have too much CC to begin with.
Hmm.
They have their X, their 3. Their 2 is mainly for snaring, and
Then I think their pet jump can have a stun on it if they spec it that way.
yeah, or
And I
knockback.
think they have a taunt too, right?
Yes, pets have the taunt, but it's a much shorter duration than the cat taunt,
Mm.
so it's not too useful. It's only like 3 seconds, I believe.
Yes, it's a very short duration. And so warlocks in general, you can expect to be glass cannon. Their defensive skills are limited
Hmm.
and uh, kind of a little bit tricky to use sometimes, I think, in certain fights. Um, but you can enjoy playing the class because there's a lot of interesting ways you can use the toolkit to further bolster your defense and also improve your offense. Because one of the things about warlocks is that they make large use of cooldown resetting, right? And these can apply to more skills than just their offensive skills. They can actually reset their cooldown on their barriers in some cases too. Um, So look forward to that class. Their sounds and their animations are so cool. If you guys can find videos of the Warlock class, I recommend that you do and just take a look at them because they have a lot of flair.
I should
Um,
mention that they have like two styles of two ways to DPS. One is like you're rooted to the ground, but you're like the heavy artillery, firing like
yes.
huge bursts at a time, or you could be very mobile, well, and have more sustained damage.
Mm,
It's your
mm.
There are two ways.
So, two different ways you can approach the class. Very excited for that to come out. I'm really glad that they released a video about it, and hopefully it'll come out soon. So, why don't we move on a little bit and talk about this article that I came across that I thought it was pretty interesting, and I just wanted to bring it up for selfish reasons because I still kind of play on KR a little bit, and I found this very interesting to me. I don't know if you've read through it, Daka, but it's a translation of some changes on the Korean server for the test server, actually.
Yes.
And one of the things, the big thing I gathered out of this article, if let me go ahead and link it in the chat. So for those of you watching on audio, it's going to be a little difficult for you to get this, but it's on the website Freedom Plays, which I think is a pretty popular website for Blade and Soul news and things, and they post some interesting articles on there. But this article titled Blade and Soul Update for the Infinity Tower, and it includes a lot of these class changes here. The thing that I gathered from this is that they really wanted to make both the elements more viable, I suppose, because a lot of classes will favor one element over the other because it's more efficient in damage or easier to utilize or has some kind of benefit over the other. What do you think about it?
So, for some of the classes, such as Blade Masters, they're trying to buff their fire tree.
Mm,
Up till now, Lightning Tree was like the go-to tree, but
yes.
they've been trying to change that and make fire a bit more viable.
Hmm.
So, not sure about the changes. It's still in the test server, so I can't really comment much. But
They're very interesting,
yeah,
that's for sure.
interesting. Yeah.
They've added some interesting effects. For example, one of them is the kick on the Blade Master. Instead of having the stun be associated with the interrupting of a target, it now is just a base effect, which actually has huge implications in both PvE and PvP
Yeah.
for the Blade Master. On top of that, I feel like there's some interesting changes too in terms of one of the things that stuck out to me was the amount of buffs they're throwing at assassins, actually.
No,
Both for
that surprised
survivability.
me. Well, it's not really a big buff actually. It's more like a PvE buff.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I think so. They did a few interesting changes for kind of I suppose you could call it the DPS trees for a lot of the skills. One of the things is actually one of the things that I thought was kind of nice was they made the flower more efficient, I suppose. They just made everything a little more compact. So abilities like, because for the flower on assassins, you have to spend a lot of points to gain benefits from it in terms of like healing and like the invul you get and the CD reduction and whatnot. You have to go pretty far down the tree to get those. And one of the changes that they had was they just squished a lot of that and made the flower options more efficient. So I think that was kind of a nice change. But on top of that, they have a bunch of damage increasing buffs, more damage when the enemy is poisoned, some better effects for the lightning kill build on assassins.
Hmm.
Interesting. One of the things that I really wish they had translated was the soul fighter stuff, but it seems like for the large part they've ignored that. But in general, it feels like they've been increasing the class's strengths overall. So on level 50, it feels like the developers are still not really that content with how strong the classes are, and so they're just like, oh, let's improve their let's improve their power.
It's more so that I guess they're trying to tune it for the Infinity Tower that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for KR, and
That's okay.
it's gonna be a while till NA gets it, I guess.
Yes. So you can look forward to more interesting changes to the classes and also utilizing elemental damage in a bigger way when the level 50 stuff comes out. So I think we can put that to rest. We don't have to talk much about that because the KR server is a far way away from the North American and EU release. Why don't we move on with some things to do with the actual game itself? Now, for me, the PvE experience, the leveling experience, first of all, it might come off as a little bit biased, but in general, I felt like the leveling was. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great in the North American and EU servers. I feel like I've done it a lot, of course. And as you mentioned, you felt like some of the quests offered less EXP than normal. How did you feel about leveling your character?
I'd say it's pretty average. Well, the thing is, it's mainly due to the number of people in the server.
Yes.
Yes, trying to
Yes.
fight over mobs.
Oh, there was so much clutter. Oh my god, especially on Mushin. And something that was really bothering me was that people would not want to party up to tag mobs. And they would just be like, "No, I don't want to be able to party," and then they'll sit there at the spawn point and try to tag it before you. Oh my god, I had a lot of problems with that. But I think Poharan might have been a little bit better. How did you feel?
For us, we made a party in our guild, and then we did that together.
The feeling of community. Oh, so heartwarming. Ace must be a very good guild. Hashtag go check it out, bnS3.com.
Registrations are closed due to limited space.
Too bad. You can't join. But yeah, I fought through the leveling, and I have a 45 assassin on Mushin. And I'm leveling my Blade Master now too. I have a 44 Blade Master now leveling on Poharan. So I'm gonna have two characters to 45 soon, and it was pretty okay. For me, I felt like I had done it so much, so it got a little bit dry. But the big thing that I want to talk about is when I did get to 45 and we got to the end game, we had to do certain things like the big four dungeons, right? And then also the current end game Poharan. And we talked about this a little earlier on in the podcast, but I wasn't really there when they made the change, but I really do feel like Poharan ended up with the nerfed health levels that they added in.
I think so too.
And on our first podcast, we kind of mentioned like, I hope that they make Poharan, they retune it so that it is relevant for the 45 content. And we mentioned that it would be a little bit of a letdown if Poharan was kind of the nerfed version. It made it a little bit easy, made the DPS check a little easier. The damage values don't seem to be quite as dangerous either.
Actually, they kind of hurt.
But they hurt.
Yeah,
they hurt for sure. That's for sure. But I felt like, well, maybe it's just me remembering wrong, but I felt like I was being one-shot before on the KR servers. They do hurt, though.
Yes.
That's true, and especially if you don't have up-to-date gear. But of course, the game of Blade and Soul kind of always remains in the same mindset of like, well, for the most part, you're trying to not get hit at all in the duration of a fight, or only take very minor chipping damage. So in that sense, that's kind of mitigated a little bit. And for a large part of the duration of the fight, you'll be looking to play defensively very well. With the nerfed health, you kind of get through the fight faster, and it's a lot less dangerous for that reason. How did you like the tuning?
Well, I think it's all right for new players, especially. It's, as I said before, us veterans are as a very small minority.
Yes, we mentioned that before too.
But on the flip side, you can see it as this: if they, as we said before, NC is probably trying to rush content, trying to push content a lot faster. So if Poharan is easy, more people will be able to finish it a lot earlier, and that would also probably mean BSH will be coming very soon. That's my analysis.
Yes, so because I think that's a really good thought on it, because they did think about it, right? In terms of recognizing what is catch-up content and what is not. this is very evident in the moon water stones that they provide. They knew that, like, okay, well, we're at 45. What is relevant content for level 45 at this point in time, right? And I think they did make that conscious thought. And you would think that if they did make that conscious thought, they would think, oh, Poharan is endgame. And so if that is the end game, we want to make it challenging for players. That would be the logical maneuver. But if you were thinking about it in terms of, okay, well, we need people to actually get through Poharan at a decent pace so that when BSH comes out, they can do that, or the general population can do that at a comfortable pace. And then when we release the tower and spiral, they need to make sure that the players can keep up, right? So keeping them at a certain difficulty to allow players to push through that content could be a pretty good indication that they don't want players to spend too much time on it. Which brings up the question again that we had in the first podcast, is what speed is a good speed for them? Because when we first mentioned it, we were making some guesses. I think you said about a month for BSH Tower to come out. And at that time, I think I agreed with you very much. After playing through the game a little bit and seeing how the end game played out, I kind of wanted to come out even a little bit faster than that. Do you have any changed thoughts about it after you've played through?
Yeah, I would love to see more content. Maybe around 2 more weeks. 1 or 2 more weeks.
1 or 2 more weeks. I think that would be
Yeah.
exciting. I think, like, if they made that announcement, it would also hold the interest of a lot of veteran players. Because even though we are a minority, I think it's still important for them to keep the veteran players interested, right? Because if you just leave all the new players and all the more casual players on their own, then they don't have as much opportunity to kind of figure out the fights or learn the fights or kind of see how other people do it. And they don't have a good reference point for, where that experience comes from. So I think it could be in their interest to kind of do it within a few weeks. Um, some interesting things to think about. But that being said, there is something that is holding players back for sure, and it's holding me back too, Daka. Oh my God! Actually, my guild on Mushin is very good about this, and I know that they're still doing it. It's a guild called Classic, actually, and it's led by one of my friends who I play with on KR. And what they've been doing is the instant that they hit endgame, they were just farming the Brightstone ruins to get a recipe, and this recipe would allow them then to make some very valuable things.
Yes.
Very valuable things, Daka. But let's start from the start. What is crafting, and why should I care, Daka? I just want to play the game, man. I don't want to craft stuff. I just want to fight things. I want to stab things. Why? Why do I have to do crafting?
Well, crafting gives you very nifty items, and in some cases, you can only get certain traits or skills through crafting, or you just buy it off the auction house from someone who made it, I guess. But overall, whether it's like, of course, the transformation stones, the primers for soul shield fusing, all those sort of good stuff comes from crafting.
Okay. So one of the things that holds a lot of players back is the Moonwater transformation stones, and these are required to upgrade your gear, right?
Right.
To move your weapon from, I think it's like Awakened Infernal or Infernal or something, to the next stage. And a lot of players have been confused, and I've actually gotten a lot of questions like, oh, how do I do this? In the beta they gave it to you for free, but that is one of the things that you get from crafting, right? And there's a process that you have to go through, recipes that you have to get, materials that you have to get, and when you throw them in, there's a time factor to it, right? So why don't we talk about some of the professions and what their what they mean for the end game and how valuable they are. So for example, the cooking, right? A lot of people come to me and ask me, because in other games like World of Warcraft, for example, the food buff is something that is very popular in the raiding scenario because everybody looks for extra stats that they can get. Is it something that's very commonly used in Blade and Soul?
Not too much, but there is one food that is required to make one of the items in another craft, which is part of the quest that increases your maximum stamina to 20,000.
Ah, yes, and the
Yes.
maximum stamina. If you guys have been sitting there and you're like, I just want to run. I just want to run to the next zone. Why do I have to run out of stamina and walk super slowly? That item will give you just that little bit more stamina. And to be honest, Doc, I still would say it's not enough, but it definitely helps. It definitely
Yes,
helps.
20,000 is like almost a must for Silver Frost because the area is so huge.
Yes, the level
Mm.
50 area is very vast, very wide. And if you craft that item, you can finish the quest. And I think they actually have the quest listed in North America, right? Can you complete it at this time?
Yes, as long as you create the craft material required for it.
Oh, do you know if your server anybody has made it yet?
I don't think so.
Oh my God, I can only imagine what the starting price for that will be for the
Um,
first person who gets it.
so what you need is a certain food from the food crafting,
Hmm.
acquired taste, and a certain item from the Earth Seers, a certain talisman or charm. And then you combine those two items in Mary Potter's.
Ah, it
And
utilizes a lot of the crafts, huh?
yes, to make a certain urn, pot kind of thing. And then you
Yeah,
bring that
pot for
over
making
to
food.
that old man Cho, and then you complete the quest.
Awesome. So 20,000 stamina is just a hop, skip, and a step away. Um, but you do need to have multiple crafting. And how much that, I guess that brings up the question, how many crafts can a single character take? Because there is a limit, right?
Each character can only take two crafting and two gathering.
Ah, so this is where teamwork is required,
Hmm.
cooperation, being
This
social.
this is where the guild comes in.
This is where the guild comes in. Uh, Another question I get a lot from people is these two things, these two items. I'm running out of keys, Daka. What do I do? I'm running
Oh,
out of unsealing charms, Daka. What do I do? What do I do? Please help. I don't want to buy the Hong Moon brilliant keys. Please. How do I get more keys?
for keys, you can just run dailies. They give quite a sizable amount, I think.
Yes, that is true. Each of them maybe give like two or three, I guess, a
Hmm.
pop. Something like that, if I remember
And
correctly.
as for unsealing charms, you would have to go to the Earth Seers.
The Earth Seers. Is there any other endgame repercussions for
Ear- Earth
Earth
Seers?
Seers? Yes.
So it doesn't actually, it kind of matters now. Earth Seers can is the crafting that can create revival charms.
Mm,
So that's their other source of income.
yes.
So,
Very useful.
so there are two types of revival charms. One is for yourself, and the other is for the party. So once you use it, every dead party member is instantly revived. It's a pretty nifty item to have, especially during those hard raids.
Mm, especially in progression.
Hmm.
When you spend hours and hours on the boss, everybody's dead on the floor, everybody's face palming, and there's tears coming down their cheeks, and
It
there's just that one little percent you need to push.
it almost becomes a must-have item for many of the level 50 dungeons.
Mm, mm,
I usually carry around three in
yes.
KR.
And they have a long cooldown associated with them, right?
Depends on which grade of item you're using. So for like the blue ones, you may have like a 30-minute cooldown, while the green ones have 1 hour of 30 minute.
Mm. And does the self raise charm and the party raise charm have a separate cooldown, or are they shared?
I think they have separate
So
cooldowns.
you have two opportunities to be the Jesus of your group and to revive all your party members. So that is indeed quite useful. I think that the end game application right now maybe not as pronounced, but it is nifty to have. It is a useful thing to add on. Um, so that is for the Earth Seers. Is there anything else that they really do?
I'm not too sure about crafting myself, but I think that's it.
Mm. Well, that certainly sounds like the most. I think there are charms that give you buffs and add your stats. You can stack them up to five, and then they give a certain extra amount of stats. Is that Earthseers too? I
No,
feel like
those
it's
are gained from events. Well, yeah.
only from events. Okay, well, there we have it. Unfortunately, that is the case.
There's also one more thing. Actually, hold on. They, well, some other small stuff they can make is teleport seals, talisman.
Oh yeah, is the ones that you can escape from the dungeons and stuff.
Escape from the dungeons or go to a main city.
Main city.
That could save you on some cost for wind stride.
Useful, and they cast a little bit faster, right? I think they're like 5 seconds or something like that.
Also, they can craft a certain evolved material for a certain legendary item later on.
Legendary items, Daka. What are you talking about? There are no legendary items in this game.
Um, of course, this is subject to change later on, depending on which way NA is going to take, which path NA is going to take.
Yes. There's actually between KR and China and Taiwan and Japan, there's like different kind of modes that the end game goes through, right? Like the legendary weapon progression is a little different on each of the servers, I think. So who knows what the future holds for us? Do you know which server we're emulating the most? I think people are saying Taiwan, right?
Yes. I think so too. Oh, and there's one more thing for Earthseers. This one's quite important. Sealing charms. So we have
to
the
reseal.
Yes, resealing items. So they can make those to steal an item and then sell it back in the auction house.
That can be very nice sometimes.
Yes.
And I think the applications will become more obvious as the level 50 stuff comes out.
Some legendary items can be resealed and sold on the auction house.
Time to make some money, Daka. I'm really bad at making money, but I guess that would be a good assumption because I don't like to do crafting at all, which is why I feel like I need to learn about it. So let's talk briefly about Mary Potters. The Mary Potters is the one that might be the most relevant, I guess, right now to people.
They create many of the sub ingredients for other crafters, so it's very nice. It's a nice combination to have with some crafting, such as I forgot what it was called in English. NA, the Soul Shield craft.
Soul Wardens, I believe.
Soul Wardens, yes, that was it.
Soul Wardens, yes. Interesting names. There's so many interesting names,
Yes.
Taka.
So they can create water bottles or pickaxes for you to use to gather quartz, water from the field,
Yes.
and various plates, dishes, or purifiers to use for other crafting.
So basically, they're kind of the raw materials creators,
Pretty
I guess,
much, yeah.
for other crafts. A useful craft to have alongside another one. And as you mentioned, people can take two. So within the end game, do you know some things that they might be utilized for that would be most relevant to North American players?
Of course, right now it's the purifiers. So to make moon water transformation stones, you need 5 premium purifiers.
Yes.
And to make those, the reason why people not a lot of people can make it right now is because the premium ones require a secret recipe that you acquire from a drop. And it's very rare.
Where do you get this drop from, Daka? I need it. I need it in my life.
I believe you get it from Brightstone Ruins, but someone needs to confirm this, but does it drop from other like big four dungeons in Moonwater?
I'm not sure. I did hear people talking about that. What my guild ended up doing was just spamming Brightstone. So that's
Mm.
where we got ours from. And it actually took a while. When you're not kidding when you say rare. I think within getting 45, it was pretty funny because when my guild first had people get 45 and we had enough to run Brightstone, they ended up running it like all night because my guild leader was like, "We need to have that recipe because I don't want to be stuck here waiting for Moonwater stones on the market board." So he forced everybody to go all night, and by the end of the session, everybody was just half dead. And the funniest thing too was our guild leader actually got disconnected and he was put into a 3-hour queue. So we
Oh.
were all joking that like he just actually like pulled the plug on his internet so he wouldn't have to farm it. So he forced us all to farm the recipe. But Brightstone Ruins, you can get this recipe that'll give you the purifiers that will, in the end, make these Moonwater transformation stones that are so coveted currently on North America.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the biggest benefits. The Windstride, of course, the Windstride quest.
Yes, as I mentioned
Uh,
before, you can create Windstride items.
mhm. Is there anything else we should mention for the Mary Potters?
That's pretty much it for now.
Mary Potters. And then I guess we move on to I think the kind of the one of the most popular ones is the Soul Warden
Yes.
is one that's very relevant to much of the end game, I believe.
Hmm.
Any thoughts about Soul Wardens and if people want to pursue this profession, what can they expect as a result?
Okay, so Soul Wardens can create only like two types of items.
Hmm.
One is the Evolve Stones, as many of you know.
Yes.
So the Evolve Stones themselves don't require a recipe, but they do require premium refiners.
Which was from the Mary Potters, as we had just
Yes.
previously talked about. Yes.
So that becomes a problem in creating those.
Mhm.
The other type of item you can create are soul shield primers, which you can use to fuse with your existing soul shield and increase their stats.
So, for example, if you got a Poharan piece that had good stats on it and you wanted to keep it and you use that as your best in slot currently, you could additionally put stats on top of it, most likely critical strike.
Yes.
And how you do it is you craft a piece of Bopai, like, is it blue quality, green quality?
It's blue or green, but you
Depending
can
on the
also
stats.
use the ones you get from drops as well.
Ah, yes. And depending on which ones you use, you end up getting more, right, for the stats that you plus onto it.
Yes, but remember that there is a max
Mm,
fuse value for each soul shield.
right. So for a lot of people, if you get your Bopai and you want to upgrade it to the maximum potential that it can be, you're going to need to enchant the Bopai onto it. One of the best ways to get that is through the Soul Wardens. They
Maybe.
can make
Um, Not Bopay, it's soul shields.
Soul Shields, sorry. Sorry, not okay. Soul Shields, yes. The Soul Shields you can create and then chew them up, eat them up, and put them on your piece, and you can get a certain amount of crit. And as far as I know, is there a way in North America to check what the values are for that?
What was that again?
Is there a way on North America? Because I know in Korea they have the power book thing that you can see the stat values that are possible to add on to your Bope or Soul Shield, and then the also the min max stats you can roll on certain Soul Shields.
Aha, so this is where BNS tree comes in.
Hey, we're really good at this, man.
Yeah.
How are we so good at this?
So
All
in
right, go
BN
ahead and tell us about it.
So in BNS tree, if you look on the left, there is a section called Soul Shield Mixer. There you can mix and match different soul shields, look at all the possible stat options, as well as their maximum fuse values.
Ah, very handy, very useful.
Mhm.
Is the Poharan Soul Shield added into it just yet?
Yes, it is added. So
Ah,
I need some time like adding all the different soul shield in NA, but um, I think I added most of the major ones.
yes.
Yeah.
There are a lot of soul shields to go through, but
hmm I've been like, as I was leveling, I've been using all of my unsealed charms just to look at the soul shield stats. uh, so I'm running low on unsealing charms.
oh no.
uh,
So tragic. But his sacrifice is utilized to give us a very handy dandy tool. Go ahead to bnstree.com to check it out. The Soul Shield Mixer, it's called. And there are a lot of varying stat values that you can get on the Soul Shields. So utilizing this calculator will both give you, as Daka mentioned, the min-max stats that you can roll and also the stats that you can add on to it. So you know whether it's a waste to utilize a certain Soul Shield to enchant your um, I keep wanting to say Bope, a certain social that you want to eat up to increase your statistics. So that is the Soul Warders. Is there anything else that we should mention about them before we move on?
no. I
That's
think that's it.
that's yeah, very useful at all points in the end game while you're gearing up. I think the other ones that we haven't mentioned too much is the Silver Cauldron and the Radiant Ring. Silver Cauldron, I think, is for potions, just to make antidotes and stuff. Is there anything else that they can do?
So, right now they can make, as you said, potions and antidotes. But like there are many different types of potions you can make, such as, those short cooldown ones.
Mm, yes, yes. Very
Those,
useful, actually.
yes. And there's also, actually, that's it. But the antidotes are very handy in the level 50 patch
Ah,
for a certain dungeon. Some of you may
of
already
a
know.
certain double-colored man.
Yes. It's almost a must-have item. So when that comes out, potion makers will be making quite a profit.
Yes, of that particular dungeon. Very important one to run. They'll give you a book that will teach you many secrets, many secrets of the ways of your class.
hmm
Um, and then that I think mostly covers Silver Cauldron.
Yeah, I think so
Um,
too.
Radiant Ring, we can talk a little bit about them. They can make keys, I believe.
Um, yes. So Radiant Ring can make keys, certain accessories, I believe. I may be
Hmm.
wrong.
Yes, I think so too.
And um, gem bags. Those
Ooh,
RNG gem bags.
Daka. Oh, God. Tell me about the gem bags.
So they can create those white diamonds. And for each, and the one thing special about those white diamonds is that unlike other gems, which requires certain conditions for them to proc, white gems or diamonds give straight out stats.
Oh boy. Straight out stats. Daka, when I was leveling up, I was under the impression that there were these three gems that I was going to get. One of them was purple and it was going to heal me. One of them was red and it was going to give me extra damage on my attacks. And one of them was supposed to be white and it was supposed to give me damage. What happened to them, Daka? Why are they not there?
They are there because they're not there is because it's from the one of those. It's from the RNG bags
Oh, God.
that these guys create. So there are so there are many stats the white gems can have. They can have like just defense, but who needs
Mhm.
defense, right?
Who cares? Just dodge.
Evade, block, um, and then there's additional damage, just additional damage, and finally attack
Attack
power.
damage. Oh, and
Uh,
that is probably the most useful stat to get, huh?
uh-huh. It's a massive boost to your existing attack power,
Mm.
and yes, it's a very must-have item.
And so most people will have noticed when you go onto the market board, when you search for gems and you look for the attack power gems, they're actually priced quite highly, and especially the ones that are of the higher values, the higher quality, they're very expensive indeed. And so that is very, very useful because on pretty much all classes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Daka, unless you have like the special gems that you could get on Korea or whatnot, you pretty much exclusively want life leech, damage proc on attack, and straight attack up, which is the purple, red, and white gems, right?
Pretty much. But there's a better red gem than that, though. There is some red gems give 100% critical hit.
Ah, yes, for a certain amount of attacks after it procs.
Yes.
Yes, and critical strikes in Blade and Soul are usually very highly valued because of crit damage that you can get, and also because a lot of classes have procs on crit that are very, very important. So having extra crits is always very, very nice, very, very welcome. Gems are a very important part of the game that I think a lot of people don't quite understand. I see a lot of people running around with some very colorful gems in their weapons, Doc. It looks very nice, to be honest, but it does stuff like gain health on blocking or something like that, you know? Some interesting effects.
So I should mention later gems also have straight up attack power mixed in. Those
Yes.
are the more expensive gems. I believe like the gem you gain from Blackworm also has that trait.
Mm.
Those purple gems also have attack.
Yes, they will give you the attack value and also have some additional effect. Of course, the attack value they give you is less than you would get with a white gem, but they usually have some extra added effect on top of them.
And well, this is irrelevant for now, but
Yeah.
you general rule of thumb is more sides there are, the better it is,
Mm.
and the more sparkly it is, the better.
You want it to be shiny and really edgy.
And
I
yes,
like
and there's up to 8 sides in KR. In
Yes.
NA, there's up to 6, I believe. 6 is pretty rare, but
Hex, yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
Hex.
and after the octagonal gems, there's the mixed, the double colored ones.
Mm, 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 mm.
But yeah, that's we
That's
won't
for
get.
later.
Yeah, that's for later.
That's for later. Last job that we have to talk about before we move on from this extended talk about crafting, which is very informative for me as a crafting pleb, is the Forge Keepers, who make weapons and stuff. Is there anything important really to note about them?
So they make weapons, but nobody really needs those, to be honest. So what they create that's most sought out after is repair hammers.
Ah. If you guys were ever scrambling to look for your hammers, or for some reason you opted to use all your field hammers before anything else, this crafting class might be very useful to you.
So they're mainly for the field repair hammers.
Mm. Very useful.
If you're stuck in a dungeon and
Potion tower.
Oh yes. And your weapon's broken, the only way to fix it would normally be to exit the dungeon and find a fire to use your repair hammer. But with the field repair hammer, you can just repair your hammer on this, repair your weapon on the spot.
Mhm. Yes, very useful. So I think a lot of people might have the question too. It's like, well, we went through all the crafting classes, but is there any possible way, Daka, for us to make the gems that help us upgrade our weapons, the ones that help us level up the weapons?
For those, you grind up your weapons, like the ones you don't need, and then you'll get this strange powder, which you can use in transmogrify. No, that's not it. I forgot what it's called.
the I like to just call it the bag crafting because you open your inventory, you click the button. But yeah,
And one of the first few options is to use those to create those evolved gems.
the upgrade stones.
Yes,
Yes,
evolve
yes,
XP.
yes. Rather than the transformation, it's very confusing. It's very confusing, man. But
Transmutate. Yes, there we go.
transmute, trans.
Um, but let me tell you this. The most cost-effective way to level up your weapon is just using green weapons.
Hmm.
That's the most cost-effective way. It takes a long time, but um,
For
it
bang for
saves
buck.
you money. Yeah.
Yes. You heard it here first from Dakaringer, ladies and gentlemen. Buy all the greens off the market board, every single one of them, and hoard them because you're going to want to upgrade your weapons and accessories a lot. A lot. It is the name of the game, as many of you have noticed leveling up. I hope you weren't one of the ones who looked at their home moon weapon and was like, the hell, and just trashed it. Oh, God. I've had a lot of new players start and they're like, I didn't want that home moon weapon. It's like, why? Why? Why didn't you want it? And they threw that away. So I think that might wrap up our little shebang about crafting in general. We talked extensively about it. Is there any closing thoughts that we want to say about crafting? Useful in the game, very useful, perhaps.
One
Something that I think a lot of people uh, look over.
one thing we didn't mention is the guild crafting stuff.
Oh yes. Ooh. Why
For
don't you talk
now,
about that?
for now, in NA we don't have much to craft, and they're super expensive.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But later on, they will be used for a certain content that will be coming up. Like one of the items is very important for a certain content.
Yes. I wonder what that could be. Ooh. It's very mysterious, Taka. I
Uh,
wonder.
I'll give you a hint. It's a GVG content.
A GVG content. Well, perhaps you would have to join Ace and be part of one of their crew to really be up on your guild crafting and get ready for that. But um, it certainly is very helpful, and it is good to have for the end game because the stuff that you can make out of the guild crafting is very, very relevant. I think, especially at level 50.
Oh, and Azura Jen just mentioned, what about Hongmun pills? We don't know which way
Mm.
NA is gonna take. So in Korea, we didn't need to craft those from the guild. We just need to buy it off a vendor.
Yes, the bag shop in Korea would actually allow you to get a bunch of skill books. Not all of them, right? I don't think you could get all of them out of there, but a good amount of them
Mhm.
you could actually get, and that just came down to grinding pages.